Hey guys, this last month, my first $1,000 article came out on Medium, and my first 1,000 article, as you can see on the screen, is about baby murder. Now, that's a controversial title. What I specifically mean is that my first article to break $1,000 actually made a total of 1,092.13 as of March 18th. It's March 22 as I'm recording this, and I think it's made about $1,100, maybe $1,200 so far. I think by the end of this month it'll be up to 12, maybe even $1,300 for this one article. And that article is this one, The Book That Killed 1,000 Babies. And it is specifically about a doctor back in like the 1940s, I think his and 50s when his book came out. And his name is Dr. Benjamin Spock, but he was actually did a lot of good for babies. He did a lot of good for families, taught parents to nurture and love and respect their children and listen to their internal wisdom in their gut. So he did a lot of really good stuff. Unfortunately, back then, we did not know as a medical community that babies sleeping on their stomach would cause sudden infant death syndrome, or at least puts babies more at risk for that. And in this book that he wrote back in the 1940s and 50s, he wrote a book that was like the most popular parenting book at the time. It was actually also during the baby boom, so his book came out at the perfect time for a book to come out on parenting because of the baby boom. There was lots of babies born, and unfortunately, inside of this book, which had a lot of really good advice, he also suggested that parents put their babies to sleep on their stomachs. Now, just because the baby sleeps on their stomach doesn't mean that the baby's going to end up dying, but it does put them at a greater risk. So that was the advice that he had mistakenly and given to all those parents, and he thought it was good at the time, and we didn't really know any different when that first came out. But so his advice did lead. It didn't cause all the babies to die, but it did lead to a lot of parents using that style of sleeping for their babies, putting their babies to sleep on their stomachs, which unintentionally caused a lot of infant mortality or deaths. So that's what the book that killed 1,000 babies is about. But today I wanted to celebrate that I had my first $1,000 article on Medium, and I wanted to look into 5 lessons learned about writing and earning money online, and specifically on Medium. Now you can go to Medium, go to my profile, Christopher Kokoski, and you can see this article in detail if you're a detail person, kind of like I am. But here are the stats as of March 18th. It had 24,000 views. It had earned me $1,092.13. The average reading time was about 3 minutes 47 seconds, and this is for an article that is a 6-minute read time. It is, like I said, it was published on February 10th, actually, and it was distributed across Medium, curated or distributed on the same day. It's a 6-minute read time, and it was published in a publication called History of Yesterday. It's not a huge publication, but it is focused on history, and that was my article was about the history of this book that had led unintentionally to all those deaths. And so it was in the History of Yesterday. It was a smaller niche publication, and the title has 6 words in it. I'm kind of a data nerd, so I like the statistics. And here's what I'm sharing with you now. So we have 24,000 lifetime views so far. It's probably more now. 20,000 internal views. 85% of my views were internal, which means Medium readers, Medium members were reading it versus people out on the rest of the internet. That was only 15%. And to make money on Medium, you want more internal views. You want a lot more internal views because only when paid Medium members read and engage with your article do you actually make money on Medium. And it had 3.8 thousand claps. As of March 18th, I had 54 comments, so there was a lot of engagement. And yes, some of them were doozies. There was a lot of criticism for my article, people saying that it was clickbait, people saying that it was a hit job on this doctor, and that was definitely not my intention. I did take their feedback and reflect on it. And I added a disclaimer to the article based on their feedback at the beginning of the article, just saying that I know the doctor did a lot of good for parents and families and babies, and also that medical knowledge evolves over time. Things that we think maybe are acceptable now might not be acceptable in 10 years or 20 years, and things that we don't even know about yet that might be causing deaths or diseases, we might learn in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and we might be doing things completely different. So medical knowledge evolves, and I added that to my disclaimer too. So I thought that was some good feedback. Now, some of the criticisms were pretty personal, saying the article is terrible, and maybe it is. For each person to judge, but it got a little personal in some of the comments. The average reading time, 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Member reading time, now this is what is most important to me because this is where I only get paid when members read my story. So 448 hours and 36 minutes of member reading time. That's good. That's how I got to my $1,000 and above. And for me, the biggest takeaways of how this article went, micro or semi-viral is because of the title. I think the title is maybe borderline clickbaity, but it actually, to me, isn't. I think it creates curiosity, a curiosity gap where people really want to find out what this book is about and how did it lead to all these deaths. Now, the truth is, if you look at the data, the book actually was correlated, didn't cause, but it led to actually many more baby deaths than 1,000. But I liked the number 1,000 for the title, and I also thought, well, I'm going to completely undersell it so that it's not clickbait. But I'll let you decide whether it's clickbait or not. Medium didn't think it was because they do not distribute clickbait, but it might be. To some, it is. But I think the title is one of the reasons why it did well and got a lot of clicks and a lot of reads. Then the read time is really important. And then the publication. I published in a niche publication. Both of my best performing articles were published in smaller niche publications. And I think that's important. The short title includes a number. That seems to be helpful. It's a compelling words, two compelling words like baby and killed were in the title, and also books. It's a 5 to 7 minute read time. My best performing articles are typically in this range, and I think the two best ones, well, this one is 6 minutes and the other one is 7 minutes, I believe. And then I publish in a smaller niche publication. Now, the whole reason I even wrote this article was one, I wanted to write something in the history publication because I like history and interesting things about history, but I was just researching online about books that might have caused the most deaths, the most destruction, and this parenting book popped up, and I thought, well, that's interesting. What's that about? And as I went down this rabbit hole, this line of exploration of this book that led to all these infant deaths, the title kind of came to me during that research and it came to me completely as the book that killed 1,000 babies. And as soon as I thought of that title, I knew that I had to write this article because it was so compelling to me that I just had to write it. I thought it was, and I thought it really would be compelling to other people. So I got the title first, and then I did a bunch of research, and I tried my best to accurately depict the historical events as they happened. And but I did get quite a backlash, as I mentioned. Lots of people said that it was a bad article, sensationalist. Um, some sort of made a little bit of jokes about the name of the doctor. His last name is Spock. And then somebody said, and this one actually, Ramona said this, and it made me laugh. I have to be honest, I couldn't finish the article, but the comments were awesome. And that actually made me laugh out loud when I heard it because I actually love to read the comments on videos or articles that I read online because usually, or even like social media posts, because a lot of times the comment section is just as funny, just as good or better than the content itself. So here are my 5 lessons I learned from writing this article on Medium that did well. One, that controversy seems to work, but it comes at a possible cost. It can create a backlash, and that could be actually pretty painful. I mean, I struggled through those comments, reading them, hurt me, and I know that it probably helped me to develop some thicker skin. I realize that anything you put out online that's public is out there for the world to see and to respond to. Negative and positive feedback can both be helpful, and I think it actually helped me make a better article by putting that disclaimer in there. But when some of the comments got a little bit personal, it did hurt. I mean, I am human, so it was painful to read. I stopped reading the comments after a while, and I responded to some, I think, politely and thanking people for their feedback. And even though we didn't disagree, I appreciated their point of view. But that as it may be, I think controversy does work. This was an article about a book that led to a lot of baby deaths, and I think that is a controversial type topic. So I think that it can be a powerful way to inject this element of controversy into your titles and into your topics. Secondly, cross-topical articles can perform well. I think that is very true. The book that killed 1,000 babies, it has one of the topics is books. Another one is true crime because it was about deaths. Another one is about history. So crossing and then parenting because it's babies. So there's a cross-topical article, 3 or 4 different topics, 3 or 4 different types of audiences might have been interested. The tags I used, the 5 tags I actually used for this article, because on Medium, when you write an article, you can add up to 5 tags. I always add all 5, and I try to do different types of tags to reach different audiences, and you can see the ones that I put here for this article. Then next, clickable titles get views and reads. Again, I think the title is very important. In this article, I go over different types of titles that seem to do well. So read that if you like. Articles can go mini or micro viral in niche publications. Again, both of my best performing articles were both in niche publications. One in the History of Yesterday about history, and one in Hard Affairs, which is like a relationships publication, but it also has to do with sex, sexuality, infidelity, and cheating. So it's in a relationships one, but also relationships. Uh, anyway, I also like publishing in the bigger publications like the Writing Cooperative, Blank Page, PS I Love You, The Ascent, Better Marketing, Mind Cafe. All of these bigger publications are awesome publications, and I suggest you try to get in those as well and experiment and see what works well for you. Lastly, your article doesn't need to be perfect. None of my articles, including the 2 best performing, were perfect. There were grammatical errors or probably word choice errors and formatting errors almost every time in all of my articles. As much as I do to edit, to run my articles through Grammarly, to read them out loud, to read them both on a desktop and mobile version, there's always something that I end up changing or wanting to change after I hit publish or submit this article to a publication. So you don't need a perfectly polished article. Now try your best to get to as perfect as possible, but I don't think any article is really 100% mistake free. It's probably no article that exists like that. So there's almost always an error. Your articles don't need to be perfect to make $1,000 or more on Medium. And thank God, because none of my articles are perfect. And I did try to replicate what I thought were the success points in this article with 2 other articles. Neither one of them did anywhere close to $1,000. If you haven't already done it, please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments what has worked for you on Medium or what questions you might have about writing on Medium. I'd love to answer those in the comments, and maybe I'll make another video about it in the future. So thanks so much for listening to this video and watching it. I'll see you at the next one.